Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on combating warehouse inefficiencies with NetSuite and RS Smart. We'll just give everyone a minute or so and we'll get going. So just got a number coming in now and we'll get into it. There'll be about 35, 40 minutes and we'll have plenty of time for questions throughout. So yeah, we've got a decent amount of time to get going. Okay. All right, we might get started and then we can catch people up as questions come in if we've missed anything. So thank you everyone for joining. Looking forward to getting some insights from yourselves throughout the presentation. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get into it. There's a chat on the right-hand side you should be able to access if you've got any questions throughout. We've got space at the end to go through everything. It's a very open forum, so yeah, just feel free to ask us whatever, and anything we need to follow up afterwards, we can do so through Annexa or RF Smart. So getting into it, my name's Ananda Iyer. I look after the customer success team here at Annexa, about 100 odd customers that we support each year. And welcoming Stephen. Do you want to give yourself a little?
Sure, mate. Sounds good. Thanks, Ananda. So Stephen Lewis, Director of Operations for RS Smart for Asia Pacific. I run the business, our sales, and I also do a lot of our solution demonstrations. And yeah, I'll be doing the demo today.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephen. We also have a guest appearance, but Ruth will introduce herself a bit later in the presentation. In terms of what we want to cover today, there's a few people joining us today who don't have NetSuite already or haven't worked with Annexa, so we'll just do a quick overview of that. We'll of course go through RF Smart and what that offering is and how that complements NetSuite. Of course, our partnership as well, which is really important as we go into implementation. It's really important to have a strong partner behind you. We'll go through and of course see the product. So Stephen will walk through a couple of different scenarios that'll be akin to what you do day in, day out with your business. And then of course, questions at the end. So Annexa, we've been around for a number of years. We started off as a Sage implementer a long time ago, and then very quickly realized that NetSuite was the future in terms of cloud technology. Very quickly be able to support customers, get them up and running in a new ERP system as they grow significantly. So we've established ourselves over the last 10, 12 years as a NetSuite house, built up quite a large team, mainly across Australia, but we've built a team more recently in Asia to support more projects. Lots of expertise, both from functional and technical side. And we also have expertise who handle the Suite Commerce part of NetSuite. And of course, within those technical expertise, developers, scripters, to help integrate other systems, such as for RF Smart that we'll go through a bit later. We've also been, quite heavily experienced across a lot of industries. So certainly within manufacturing, warehouse and distribution, retail, services, and of course not-for-profit. So we'll go through a few customer examples a bit later. In terms of NetSuite, so main reasons we looked at this was its own growth. So it's very proud to be a cloud-only company, so born in the cloud, enabling, as I said before, that ability to quickly upgrade, expand, add new features. It's a huge global presence now, so quite a number of businesses across the world now use NetSuite. And main reasons are it's multi-currency, multi-country. It covers every aspect you'd expect to see in terms of your business process, from CRM all the way through your supply chain, sales, HR, and e-com. And then we'll see a bit later why it's important to have a base platform that you can connect other third-party products to, and that's where NetSuite really has a great little part of the market where you can expand the functionality by looking at a system that's best of breed and pulling that data in, and still having that single source of data when you're running your reports, dashboards within the role that you have permission to. So we'll see that expand a bit later as we go through the demonstration, how that can flow into NetSuite. In terms of our customer base, so as I mentioned before, lots of customers across a lot of different industries, many who are already using RF Smart as well within their business process. So there's just a couple of examples to call out. And yeah, as part of the NetSuite family, we will get you involved in speaking to customers of similar businesses, so you can learn from them how they best leverage the system and other products as well. In terms of our partnership, so we've been working together with RF Smart for quite a number of years now, over 7. Lots of shared customers, which keeps getting added to every year because of the closeness between both our companies and, of course, the way RF Smart works with NetSuite. And the real key to this is that collaboration, ensuring that as your needs grow, we've got a system in place that can help support that, and that's where RF Smart has enabled that. And at the same time, leveraging that, all the good things that come with NetSuite in terms of that single source of data, integration to bring that data all towards your dashboard and enable you to make key decisions within the business. I might pass over to you now, Stephen, to give an overview of RF Smart.
Yes, I think Ruth was going to do this part, and then I'll jump in a little bit later.
And I apologize, I put my camera back on, but bear with me, a little bit of technical. But hello, everyone. My name is Ruth Rosenstock, and I am a global partner manager here at RF Smart. And what that means is I work very close with partners like Annexa. But what I wanted to do for the next couple slides is just give you a brief overview of who RF Smart is. So we do have a mission statement, and that's to transform our customers and change lives. And we've seen that over and over again when we work with organizations and work with partners like Annexa. So globally, we've got 2,000 plus customers over 33 countries. And when I look at the ANZ and APAC region, we have approximately 73 customers. And the whole idea around this, and when you look at this slide, I think, there's some important things to take away from that. We've been around since 2012, and we're a solely built system right on top of the NetSuite platform. So what that means is when you're using RF Smart, you're not really leaving NetSuite. Everything is encompassed within our WMS system. So you still remain to use NetSuite as your single source of truth. And then all of the information works in conjunction with NetSuite. Along with that, we've got extensive supply chain expertise. So RF Smart actually started 40 years ago with on-premise solutions like Microsoft Dynamics and JD Edwards. And then in 2012, built the first warehouse management solution on top of the NetSuite platform. The important part of that is we were actually working in supply chain before ERP was even a thing. So there's a lot of experience that comes along with that, on top of the experience that we have with our internal software, which is WMS or RF Smart, WMS for NetSuite by RF Smart. Apologies for that. And then along with our software as well. So those things are combined. When we look at development and implementation, we've got 24/7 support. And then, of course, we're built onto the NetSuite platform, and we're privately owned. And what that means to organizations is that when we say we're debt-free, that means that we can put our money right back into development and supporting our customers. We're not owned by a PE firm or anything like that, where it's going to go away one day. It's been privately owned since 1982. So we'll just move on to the next slide here. So why RF Smart? I'd like to break this into 3 different areas. I'm sorry, the slide moved slightly. When we first look at everything, we look at mobile supply chain. So think of organizations that might be smaller, edging on the mid-market, that need that simple kind of barcoding during pick, pack, and ship motions within the warehouse. As companies grow and they change, they need more advancement. So we start to look at things where maybe they look at their warehouse and need to be a lot more advanced when it comes to picking. Or maybe there's different ways that we need to look at put away. And there's more advanced things that happen as organizations grow within their supply chain piece of it. And then when we look at what we call WMS, when we look at organizations, especially NetSuite customers, often they start at an emerging level and grow into mid-market and even more into enterprise, or sometimes they come to us as enterprise customers. When we look at supply chain and we look at what's needed around warehouse management solutions, really what happens is there's certain aspects that they need of what might be called a tier one solution. So there's tier one solutions are Manhattan or Cobra, which are millions of dollars to actually implement into an environment. Often companies, especially on the NetSuite side, don't need everything out of a tier one solution. So what we offer here at RSmart are those key areas around those tier one needs that we see organizations needing. So things like pick and wave planning, task assignment, dashboards, license plating, and automation. Automation is becoming very big when it comes to automated retrieval systems or carousels within warehouses. We've got the ability to have a company grow into those things. So the best way to kind of look at why RSmart is that you can start small and then you can grow into more enterprise needs, or if you've got enterprise needs, you can come to us at that point in time as well. So from there, I'm going to move it on to Stephen, and we'll talk a little bit more about work order reporting.
Sounds great. Thanks, Ruth. So just two key areas that we're going to talk about today. RSmart does cover the full, I guess, stock movement policy all the way from inbound replenishments, picking, etc. But two key focus areas today are around manufacturing, and one key area in manufacturing is the ability to record time against operation steps. So that's work order reporting, which I'll be demonstrating in a moment. It does enable you to track activity for a given worker against a given work order, including tracking just time, so if they weren't able to complete anything, and supporting scrapping at the end of the process and the backflush of inventory optionally if that's required. And it's a multi-step process before work order reporting as well. You can do things like staging, which I'll also be showing today. And then outside of the work order processing, we also have two options that Ruth mentioned sort of briefly around task assignment. So this is your more advanced wave-based picking. There's Pick Manager, which is allowing you to manually group tasks together and assign them. And then there's Pick Planner that does the same sort of thing, plus some additional functionality, plus the ability to schedule and have these things run automatically in the background to drop your tasks out of your orders automatically. And I'll be going through these in some more detail when we hit the demonstration, but basically Pick Manager is the one where you go through and group your tasks together manually. Pick Planner is the one where the system does it for you based on some rules that you've set up and configured. And just briefly, Annexa, I don't know if you wanted to do mention the Annexa side of the Cargo Crew relationship, but yeah, this is a mutual customer that we have. You can see the comments they made on the page. I don't think we need to read them out to you, but basically Cargo Crew did see a lot of increased efficiency, a lot of increased accuracy, and they heartily recommend both Annexa and RFSmart. Did you want to add anything there, Ananda? You're on mute, mate.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, working with Cargo Crew for a number of years, and again, a classic NetSuite customer. Get in there, build your processes, get comfortable using the system, and then the ability to expand your processes as you grow to leverage something like RFSmart. It's a great story, and still growing today. So it's all really worked out well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Steve.
No worries. So before the Q&A, I'll do the demonstration. So I'm just going to share my screen, and if I can just get everyone to confirm that it's coming through okay. You should be able to see a NetSuite screen on the left and an RSmart screen on the right. Is that coming through? There. Fantastic, thanks, Aneta. And people, don't forget that there is also a chat window where you can post questions, and we'll be using those for the Q&A, or you can actually ask your own questions at the end once we get there. So what you can see on the right-hand side here is a list of menu sub-menus that I have configured for this particular user that can see pretty much everything that's available in the system. But if you think about a normal user, they would have like a limited amount of functions that they would want to do, and those functions would be shown on the screen here. So you, just like NetSuite, you can configure a role-based menu and limit down the functions that a particular user can see. So if I start off on the manufacturing side, we discussed that. So, and just before I get into the detail of the demonstration, I just want to mention on the right-hand side there is a Honeywell device that I'm simulating. It is a handheld scanner with an actual scanner on the back and a user replaceable battery, and it's ruggedized. Most of these devices by most manufacturers these days are just Android devices with that additional removable high capacity battery and an integrated scanner. And we support a wide range of devices at RF Smart, and RF Smart is running essentially as a Chrome window on that device. And also RF Smart, as mentioned earlier, is fully integrated and running against It's not integrated, it's running in the NetSuite environment. So it's running on platform in NetSuite. So everything that I do on this screen on the right-hand side of the RF Smart screen is going to be reflected immediately in NetSuite on the left here. And what I'm just going to do is take a look at this particular work order where I'm building some hose. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at the production staging part of this. So this is moving stock from the warehouse into manufacturing and getting it ready to be consumed. And you have a couple of options. You can move it and consume it at the same time, and then like unissue what you don't use and shift the remainder back, or you can just move it and then the issuing can also occur as activity is occurring in the production line. So I'm just going to go into staging, and one thing you'll note when I do go into staging is that I have a default location, which is my Auckland warehouse, you can see here, and I also have the ability to scan a work order barcode, or I can hit load work orders to see a list of open work orders at my location. So this is not every work order in the system, it is only the work orders that are actually open for activity. This being a test system, of course, I have quite a few of those, but yeah, I can scroll through here and I can select one of these items or one of these work orders here if I want to go that way, or I can scan a barcode if I happen to have a barcode for the work order number. So either way, I can also type the work order number, which is what I'll do. So I'll type it in. Once we open the work order, what it's going to show me is all the parts on that particular work order that need to be picked. What's interesting here is you can see I already have some quantities for these staged. Okay, so I already have a quantity for these staged for a different work order, but I will like restage these items. But just remember that you can also choose to overstage and then you don't need to restage, if that makes sense. So if you've got items that are common across multiple work orders, you can actually just stage them once at the start of the day and then continue them against multiple orders. So I'm going to scan the bit I'm picking from and enter in the quantity that I'm going to stage. You'll note that that item turns from red to green and goes to the bottom of the list. This list is sorted in a path, a logical path through the warehouse. So basically I'm going to go through in one hit, grab everything I need, take it over and drop it off to the work order staging. We can also have multiple staging areas. So if you have a work order with multiple steps, some items need to be staged to one part, some items need to be staged to another part. We can do that as well, support that. Have multiple different types of staging. And then I can scan my bin and stage my additional quantity, etc. So you get the idea. I just go through, I pick my items, I stage them. I'm going to submit this. What that's going to do is pick those items, shift them across to the staging area, and we should see a transaction occur against the work order as well, although I haven't got it set to auto issue, so it'll just do a transfer at this stage. And then later on down the track with the work order, once I actually do some activity, we'll see the work order status change. So what this is doing is shifting areas from the actual bins in the warehouse across into a staging bin for production. So now what I'm going to do is go into work order reporting, which is what I showed this slide for. So work order reporting allows me to record activity against a work order. It's worth noting that the user I have open right now can only do one activity at a time. So if I scan a work order and I say I'm going to start the molding operation here, so you can see I've got two operations, molding and screwing. And then neither of them at the moment are started. So if I go into molding, it's going to start the operation, and you'll notice it just kicks me straight out because I can only have one thing running at a time. So I don't need to make any other selections. I've just told the system I'm starting molding, and the stopwatch has started right now. The clock is ticking. If I go back into work order reporting, what actually happens is it says, well, this is the one you opened, so how many did you make? And then once I enter that quantity, it will actually stop the timer and record the time as well as the quantity. If I just want to record time, I can hit stop and then it will just do a time recording without quantity. If I want to do all 10, I can hit complete. And you'll notice I also have a unit of measure button here that's showing me the unit of measure that I'm reporting in by default. Now that's because my user can only do one thing at a time. If you want to, you can set a user up to allow them to do multiple things at a time. And then you have to decide how that time will be split. Is it just even split between the work orders, or is it based on the quantity that was completed? So if I do a quantity of 1, what that'll do, it'll submit a completion, and it'll also submit the time against the work order. And then if I refresh the work order over here in NetSuite, you'll see the status change from released to in process. And over here on my related records against the work order, you can see there's a work order completion, which I'm going to open up into a new tab. So what's happened is I've completed a quantity against that operation step, and I've also recorded time. So you can see I've got some run time here of 0.96 of a minute. So that's how long I talked for in between the two transactions. But I've also got the quantity that I used and the other information that's part of this operation. So I started and stopped at operation 10. If I go back into that order, I could start operation 20 and do a completion against that, etc. I mentioned earlier, you can also issue components manually. So I could be issuing components and also reporting my time. And if issuing components was part of my job, let's just start that work order up again. One example of a process we might do is we might start the work order, and we might say, let's say I'm doing the screw on for that one that I made. I hit start, and I'm going to manually issue some of the components. So I go into work order, issue components. I scan my work order again, and I say, hey, while I'm working on this, I'm also going to issue some components. So I've got a physical process for what I'm doing where I'm going through and screwing these parts on, but I also want to consume some inventory that I've previously staged. So I can pull it from the actual bin in the warehouse, or I can actually issue it directly from staging. So I'm going to scan the product, going to grab my staging bin, and I'm going to issue, let's say I'm just going to issue one. And then I'm going to go back, and it's going to say, okay, you're about to issue one of those. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. That will consume what I had previously staged against the work order. So let me just go back to the work order in NetSuite and refresh this page. And if I jump across to related records, we should see that now we have an issue that's been performed against the work order. Just refresh again. And so you can see that I've got a number of different things I could be doing physically, but also on the system. And then I go back into work order reporting, and I can do my completion. And you'll notice now I've actually got a bin that I'm completing to, and that's because it's the final step. So I'm actually making something, and it's going to put it into that bin. So I'm going to put my quantity of 1 in, and it's actually going to place that product into that bin, and then I could go and put it away into the warehouse. So that was a lot of different manufacturing concepts quite quickly, but I just want to pause there. I haven't seen anything come through in the chat. I'm about to jump across to picking. Are there any questions about manufacturing that anybody wants me to answer right now? Just confirming, we haven't seen anything come through in the chat. Is that correct?
No questions yet.
Okay, great. So you can see I got my 2 completions on my issue. That's what I discussed. So that each of these transactions is recorded individually against the work order in NetSuite. You can also see that the one that I issued, or the motor that I issued, has been issued against this particular work order. So I staged it, and then I issued it manually. Just a reminder that you can also stage it and consume it automatically. Lots of different options. So stepping away from work orders, let's talk about picking. So I have a couple of different options here. Let me just open up Pick Manager and show you what that looks like too. So with Pick Manager, I can come into the system, and this is where I'm dropping a wave to the warehouse, and I'm doing it based on some previously saved values. So I can come in here and say, you know what, I'm going to use this plan. And once I select the plan I'm going to use, it pulls the values from that plan. You don't have to have a plan. You can just create this from scratch. So it's pulling out of Auckland. It wants sales orders. It wants complete orders. And I've got some additional options here. I can select by expected ship date, shipping method, etc. I'm just going to hit next and pull a list of orders. But you'll see there's quite a few different selections down there around saved searches, but also customizing this screen now, because we recognize that for a lot of our customers, when you're building a wave manually from a screen like this, you're going to want this certain data you're going to want to see on the screen. And in NetSuite, that could include a custom field that you've created in NetSuite as part of your implementation. So on here, I can also add multiple fields. And let's just say I want to look for orders that are for a pharmacy, because I know there's some out there. Yeah, there we go. So there's one there for a pharmacy. I can pull the detail of the order open and see what's on it. I can select it and I can add it as a batch. And then I can get rid of that filter. So the filter is interactive. I can type anything in there. So, you know, I can type Harvey Norman. There we go. Now, the reason why that Robert Tholen one came up is that in the description of the order, there's actually that word. So it's searching every single field available when I start typing into this filter. I can also just get rid of the filter and I can actually sort by these columns just by clicking on them. So let's say, you know, I want a couple of orders for Abigail, just going to add, they're going to create another batch for them, etc. So I can just go on creating batches, and then when I hit next, I'm going to choose how to pick those waves that I'm about to drop. So there's different picking methods, there's different picking logic. Today, we're not really going to have time to go through all of those, but just know you can pick orders, lots of orders together. You can, when you pick those orders together, you can decide whether you want to split them or whether you want to just throw everything into a box and sort it out later, put simply. So what I'm going to do, that's like the creation side of things. And then with Pick Planner, you also have the same sort of options, but they're set up for execution in the background. So basically I can create these plans, and then the plans can be automatically put into groups and run in the system at a specific time. So I want to drop the tasks for my Amazon Prime orders at 10 o'clock every morning. Bang, the task will drop and be available. So I think a couple of things to note about tasks, and let me just open one of the tasks I'm going to show today. Things to note about tasks are that they are assigned to either an individual employee or a group of employees. We always recommend assigning to a group of employees, because that way, if one specific person isn't available, you can, you know, someone else in that group can pick it up. And you can just create a simple NetSuite Save Search. So this is nothing special. This is a Save Search that I created, where I can come in here and I can change my priorities if I want certain things to happen first, if I want different. So there's default priorities based on plans, or even what you select in Pick Manager has default priorities. But if I'm the warehouse manager, I'm looking at this view and I go, you know what, this one down here is actually more important. So I might choose to put like a higher priority on it. And then if I refresh this screen, what will happen is that one will jump to the top. And then as I'm looking through this, I go, actually, you know what, those two are probably more important. So I'll make it priority 96, for example. So this is an example of an editable search in NetSuite. Really good NetSuite feature, because you can change the data on one screen. You don't have to like go in and out of an edit or anything like that. You can just come in here, use a drop down, change the data. So in terms of executing tasks, a bit like I talked earlier about work order reporting, there's sort of two different modes. So if as a warehouse user, you just want me to get my next task in priority sequence that's assigned to me or my group, that's the mode I've got set up here. I don't have a list button. I can't look at anything else. I'm just being told, Stephen, go pick the next one, go pick the next one, go pick the next one. And you have it set up that way because, well, the warehouse manager has set the priority, and also you don't want people cherry picking orders and deciding which ones they actually want to pick. So the situation here is I'm told what I am picking, and I come in here and it says, okay, that task you've just selected has 2 orders on it, 10661, 10662. They both have 3 lines. They have different weights. You can see there's a bit of a decimal quantity conversion going on there. And there's 2 orders. And I have this task set up here. You can see here it's set to multi-order pick. What that means is it will let me pick 2 orders at once, but it will make me keep them separate on a trolley. So if you imagine I have a pick trolley with 2 plastic totes on it, I hit next. It says, okay, the first order has these products on it. I want you to scan the tote you're going to load that into. Second order, scan the tote. So now what it's done is said, okay, you've got 2 orders, 2 totes. It grabs all the lines for those 2 orders, sorts them into an appropriate pick sequence, and comes up and says, go to the first bin, which is 001 E25. Okay. Bins can be sorted by their name or also by a numeric sequence. So I say, yep, E25. I scan E25, and you can see here it's got two picks, right? One for one order that I had and one for the other order. They both got the same item on them. So what it's saying once I scan the product is, I want you to pick 2 of them for the first order, and then I want to pick that, put it in the tote, and then I want you to pick another one and put the second one in the tote. So I'm going to say, yep, I've picked 2. It says, okay, scan the tote that as you drop it in there, scan the tote to confirm you put it in that tote. And now it's going to say, okay, well, you're still in that same product, pick another one, and then I want you to drop that in the second tote. And that process just continues and continues and continues. So I say, yeah, I got one, I'm going to put it in the second tote there. We also have the ability to set these tasks to scan to accumulate quantity instead of entering a quantity. So if all your orders are quite small, you may choose to have them just scan the item twice and then scan the tote to say, yeah, I'll put it in that tote. So proceeding to the next one and then scanning my product. This one's a bit lesser in quantity. So I got one, then two instead of two, then one. So I say, yeah, I got one of those. That's going in tote one. Now let's say I'm going to pick the second item here. I say, yep, I've got two of those. And let's say I scan a different tote by accident. Well, it tells me that's not correct. I can't put it in there. So it's actually everything I do is being validated in real time against NetSuite. Let's say here I scan an item by accident instead of a bin. It says, well, that's not a bin. Can't find it. Don't know what you're talking about. So I scan a bin and it's happy. I get to here and I scan a different product instead of the one that I'm supposed to be picking. So it knows it's an item, but it says that's the incorrect item. That's not the item you've been told to pick. And a user actually gets an audible tone in their ear as well, telling them that they've done something wrong. What I'm going to do now with this one is scan a different barcode for the product. So I originally scanned just the normal one for the product, the normal barcode, but this time what I've done is scanned a different barcode that's for a box of 5. So you can have a different barcode for each, a box of 5, a carton, an outer, a pallet, whatever that might be. So instead of saying pick 5, it's saying pick 1 box of 5. Still got to put it in the tote though. And once again, once I've done that, because that's the barcode I scanned, it's going to say now pick 10 for the second one because it's in each. But I could have also set that to keep that box of 5 going, and it would have been 2 boxes of 5. So either way, it's fine. You can switch between the units of measure. So once this is completed, it goes out, it creates a fulfillment in NetSuite for each of those 2 orders. And it also will, I'll just hit complete. And it's also giving me the option to stage that to a particular staging bin. So what staging bins are less relevant when you're picking, like I just described, but they're extremely relevant if you have an order that is split into multiple tasks, right? And you want to go and pick, let's say Ananda works on a forklift and I work on a pick trolley. Ananda gets all the stuff that needs to be picked by the fork. I get all the stuff that needs to be picked by the pick trolley. We take it across to a staging bin at the end and we consolidate that all together and send it out. So that's one example of the type of thing that we can do. We also have the ability to take that tote to a packing station and pack it into boxes and send it out. And then we have other partners that we can work with that can provide shipping integration, and Annexa has options in that area, and we work with them. In terms of, and just backing right out to the project level now, in terms of working with Annexa, we have worked very closely with Annexa, as you can see, over a number of projects. And I just want to emphasize that it's one project, one process. So when we work closely with Annexa, you would be dealing with one project manager at Annexa that we'd also be working with. So it's not like you have to manage 2 separate projects. I think that's important to mention, given that you got sort of like 2 company names in the presentation. So I'm going to go back to the presentation, and we will go to the next slide, which is Q&A. So I think pretty much I'm right on time. So if anybody's got any questions, please put them in the chat.
Just a couple of
if we don't have
questions, unless someone shouts out in the, I don't know if they can talk out loud, but we'll let them go if they do. How quickly, typically, to get RF Smart up and running? Let's assume you've got NetSuite in place. What are we looking at there?
So once NetSuite's in place, we can do an RF Smart project really quickly. So our typical project for an existing NetSuite customer is sort of 2 to 4 months, depending on the functionality we're implementing. It might go as far as like 6 months, even up to 12. So it really just depends. But in terms of implementation, fast implementation, we have customers that have implemented stock counting, for example, within a week, 2 weeks of starting the project with RF Smart. So it's a good question. Thank you, Ananda.
Perfect. And yeah, really just to echo what you said before, to make sure it does stick to that 2 to 4, having one team working collaboration between ourselves and RF Smart is really important to keep the milestones in check.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Couple of
I can see we've got some questions coming in.
I'll summarise. So you can see the one around stock reservations. How do stock reservations work during the picking process?
Sure. So that's from Gareth. So definitely stock reservations are actually handled by the NetSuite reservations module. So essentially that can be done automatically. So they can be reserved based on outstanding demand in a, I guess in a sequential fashion in NetSuite by default. But NetSuite, you can also set to have reservations be processed when you hit a button, and you can override which customers have higher priority. But that's a NetSuite process. What RF Smart does is we would honor that reservation in NetSuite. Did you want to comment on it any further, Ananda, or are you happy with how
that's good. But yeah, we can walk through that flow specifically for you, Gareth. That might be good to see in your own demo. A couple of questions from Puneet. Apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. Do we need WMS in place for the NetSuite standard module for RF Smart, or if you
No, you don't. You just need advanced inventory. And that ties in with does RF Smart support integration with automation, warehouse control systems? Yes, Puneet, we do. We have a specific module for working with different types of equipment called automation, and that allows us to connect to things like automated storage and retrieval systems, like a Cardex Remster or a Hanel Lean Lift type thing. So yeah, we do have the ability to work with those types of systems, including direct communication with PLCs, that kind of thing. It does add some complexity to the project, obviously, but yeah, that's a capability that we do have. So that's kind of dealing with both of Puneet's questions. And I noticed we also had a question from Neil about lot numbered items. Yeah, absolutely. So lot numbered and serialized items are supported. And Neil, if you're lucky enough to have a supplier that gives you GS1 barcodes with the lot number, the item number, the lot number, and the expiry in a single barcode, you can scan that and we will input all three pieces of information, or we can generate those barcodes during a PO receipt and you can identify the item in the lot in a single scan thereafter. Does that answer your question, Neil? I think so. Yeah, just post it again, mate, if there's any other queries, and we can deal with serial numbers as well.
Perfect. Go ahead. Just in from Stephen around NetSuite WMS and RF Smart, could you just some commentary around those two features and how it works?
Sure. So NetSuite WMS is a simpler, much simpler system than RF Smart, I would say generally. Also, just to reflect, I guess, some of the discussions that we've had with customers. We do regularly have customers that shift across, I guess, from NetSuite WMS to RF Smart, and the comments that they make to us are that RF Smart looks like a system that was designed and built by somebody that works in a warehouse, and NetSuite WMS looks like a system that was designed and built by someone that sits in an office and works in an IT team. So there's a lot of there's a lot of benefits you get about working with RF Smart because we are a single. That's all we do. We don't develop anything else. We don't do ERP implementations. WMS is all we do. There are a lot of specific feature by feature comparisons, but I wouldn't necessarily want to make all of those in this forum. Stephen, if you're looking at both, just reach out to us, and I'd be happy to go through your individual requirements and then sort of compare and contrast the different capabilities.
Great, and yeah, just to extend on that, so we saw earlier the NetSuite capabilities covering many facets of your business process, and where RF Smart and other companies come into play, it does extend the platform. So you've got that option as you potentially outgrow a part of NetSuite. You've got companies like RF Smart who've leveraged the standard functionality and then brought more to it. But yeah, of course, if you need a specific demonstration to show that, yeah, we can get that arranged. A few others, we've got plenty of time, so we'll tease through these. One I was thinking about, we've got a couple of customers on here who aren't NetSuite customers, so potentially coming from almost nothing in terms of the WMS space. Any advice around what to think about now before you venture on a project like NetSuite and WMS with RF Smart?
Sure. Couple of things that I would recommend thinking about on the warehouse side is what level, how much you want to automate that warehouse, and where you're going to get the best benefit out of doing that. And that's something we can help advise you on, but you really need to look at your existing processes, decide what the areas are that you don't like of those processes, and then kind of figure out where you want to improve them. And in terms of embarking on a NetSuite project, obviously you want to do the same thing, but for your whole business. Like, where are the things that you don't like about what you do now? What do you want to fix? How do you want to improve your operations? They're sort of the big ticket items. And then in terms of WMS implementation, the other thing you need to think about is the physical layout, etc., like that. And that's once again something we can.
Yeah, perfect. You got a big thumbs up from Stephen, so that's good.
Excellent.
One from Juan. For put away of incoming stock, does RF Smart have any consideration around the bin space to direct the stone man to where the stock is? So
I think you mean storeman, and that's cool. All good. So the short answer is yes, we do. So we do have the ability to direct the operator. We'll show them where the product is normally stored, so a picking or preferred location in NetSuite sort of context, and also any bulk areas where it's currently stored. We can do some basic capacity information based on units rather than measuring capability, just because that introduces a lot of other complexities. But yes, certainly we do have the ability to have like a capacity for a bin, and we always show the storeman where that product is supposed to be stored from a picking point of view and where it's currently stored from a bulk storage point of view.
Perfect. I think we're coming to the end of the questions. Any kind of closing comments, Stephen, from your side, maybe about what's next and what you're excited about in this year with RF Smart?
Sure. Yeah, we're actually doing a couple of really cool things around what's called a put wall type scenario. So basically picking and then placing items into, I guess, the equivalent of a pigeonhole, but it might be a little pigeonhole on a thing, or it might be like a massive area if you were picking for a particular run of a truck, for example. So it's pick and merge. So basically you go and pick all the stock and then you go and drop it off into different areas for the dispatch. That's one of the things that we're building into the solution. We have two different replenishment modules. We have a basic replenishment module, which works on stock on hand, but we're also developing a demand-based advanced replenishment feature, which allows you to look forward and also dictate like maximum overflow when you replenish. So you may decide to let a few extra items get placed into an area. And then automation is also an area that's pretty exciting for me, like integrating with different types of equipment. We have a customer in Victoria that has a full Amazon style goods to person picking solution with robots.
Wow.
You know, that's pretty cool. Yeah. I saw we just had a question come in from
Yep.
Tanu. Serialized and non-serialized managed simultaneously. Yeah, that's no issue. So basically, RF Smart will request either a lot or a serial number if that product is configured in NetSuite to require it. So we're not going to ask for it every time. We're going to ask for it if NetSuite's set up for it. We also have a concept of outbound serialization, which would mean you don't have to track serials in the warehouse. You just have to record which customer got which serial number. But yeah, serialized and non-serialized together is fine because we only prompt for the serial number when it's actually configured against the product. So we have lots of customers that have like standard items, lock controlled items, and serialized items in the same warehouse.
Awesome. So yeah, I guess just to reflect on your comments before, for the guys out there who are again not on NetSuite yet, you're investing and are smart to that extent. You're investing in a system that just doesn't sit still. We obviously listen to our customer base, where they're heading, what's the latest technology, and we have to flex and be agile to meet those demands. So hopefully that came across today. If there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out, LinkedIn. I'm sure we'll share our details as well. Reach out directly, and whether it's Annexa or RF Smart together, we'll help you get there to the next level within your business. So thank you everyone for joining. This will be recorded as well and shared, so you can distribute it to others who haven't been able to join. Any closing comments from you, Stephen?
No, thanks, Ananda. I think it's been great.
Brilliant.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.